Welcome to Rooted and Restored, the podcast where faith, wellness, and personal growth come together. I'm your host, Angela Hook, clinician, wellness advocate, and someone who believes deeply in the power of tending to the whole person's mind, body, and spirit. Each week, we explore practical tools, honest conversation, and faith centered insights that help you create balance, nurture emotional wellness, and walk in the fullness of who God designed you to be. Whether you're navigating stress, seeking clarity, or simply longing for a moment to breathe, this is your space, a place to pause, reflect, and be restored. Let's begin today's journey toward wholeness. Today, I want to talk about something many of us know all too well: caring too much for too long. Our topic today is a place to release your burdens. Sometimes we become so accustomed to carrying responsibilities, caring for others, solving problems, showing up, and remaining strong that we don't realize how heavy our hearts have become. But being strong does not mean carrying everything by yourself. There comes a time when you have to ask yourself, what am I carrying that I was never meant to carry this long? Matthew 11:28 through 30 tells us to come unto me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I love that Jesus begins with the one simple word, come. He doesn't say, get yourself together first. He doesn't say, figure everything out. He doesn't say, stop feeling what you're feeling. He simply says, come. That means there is a place for disappointment. There is a place for your grief. There is a place for your fear. There is a place for the pressure you've been carrying, and that place is in the presence of God. What is a burden? A burden is anything that becomes emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically heavy to carry. Sometimes burdens come from circumstances we cannot control: loss, financial difficulties, family concerns, health challenges, uncertainty, or major life transitions. Other burdens come from what we place upon ourselves: the pressure to keep everyone happy, the pressure to always be available, the pressure to fix everything, the pressure to appear strong, the pressure to never disappoint anyone. And sometimes we carry other people's problems as though they are our personal responsibility. Compassion is healthy, love is healthy, supporting others is healthy, but carrying responsibility for things outside of our control can eventually leave us emotionally exhausted. Releasing is not giving up. Sometimes we struggle to release our burdens because releasing feels like we're giving up. But there is a difference between giving up and giving over. Giving up says, nothing can be done. Giving done what I can. Now I trust you with what I cannot control. First Peter 5:7 says this, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Notice, The scripture says, all your cares, not just the big things, not just spiritual things, not just the things you think are important enough to bring before God, all of it. God is concerned about what concerns you. From a mental wellness perspective, constantly carrying unresolved stress can affect how we think, feel, sleep, communicate, and function. Sometimes the burden shows up as irritability. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion. Sometimes it becomes difficult to concentrate. Sometimes we withdraw from people. Sometimes our minds won't slow down because we're constantly thinking about what could happen next. And sometimes we keep saying, I'm fine, when what we really mean is, I'm functioning. Functioning and being well are not always the same things. Part of restoration is being honest about what you are carrying. You cannot intentionally release what you refuse to acknowledge. Give yourself permission to release. Maybe today you need permission to say, I cannot fix everything. I cannot be everything to everybody. I cannot control every outcome. I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to ask for help. I am allowed to set boundaries. I am allowed to feel what I feel. And I am allowed to give this burden to God. There are some things you can change. There are some things you can influence. And there are some things you simply have to surrender. Wisdom is learning the difference. Take a moment and imagine that you are holding a heavy bag. Inside that bag are all the things you've been carrying: the family situation, the unanswered question, the grief, the disappointment, the responsibility, the financial concern, the relationship, the mistake you keep replaying, the future you're trying to figure out. Now ask yourself, does this belong in my hands or does this belong in God's hands? You may still have responsibilities connected to the situation, but you don't have to carry the emotional weight of trying to control the outcome. Sometimes faith sounds like, God, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust you. Take some time this week to reflect on these questions. What burden have I been carrying the longest? What am I afraid will happen if I release it? Am I carrying responsibility for something outside of my control? What emotions are connected to this burden? What boundary, conversation, prayer, or action could help lighten the load? What would trusting God with this situation look like for me? Where do I need to make room for rest? Create a release space this week. Find somewhere quiet, a chair, your bedroom, your car, your prayer space, or somewhere outside. Take 10 minutes. Put the phone down. Take a few slow breaths. Write down what you've been carrying. Pray over it and then say, God, I release what I cannot control. Give me wisdom for what I cannot change, for what I can change, courage for what I need to face, and peace concerning what I must place in your hands. Then allow yourself to rest without immediately picking the burden back up. Restoration doesn't always begin when the situation changes. Sometimes restoration begins when you change what you're carrying. Some things need your attention and some things need your action. Some things need your prayers, but some things simply need your release. You don't have to carry everything into your next season. There is a place for your burdens. There is a place for your weariness. There is a place for the things you cannot fix. Jesus says, come unto me. So today, come tired, come uncertain, Come disappointment, come grieving, come overwhelmed, come exactly as you are and release the weight. Because sometimes becoming rooted and restored begins with finally putting down what has been weighing you down. Father, thank you for being a safe place for us to bring every burden. Help us recognize what we have been carrying that you never intended for us to carry alone. Give us wisdom to know what requires action and what requires surrender. Teach us to trust you with the people, the situations, outcomes, and unanswered questions that are beyond our control. Restore our minds, restore our hearts, restore our strength. Give rest to the weary places within us. Today, we choose to release our burden into your hands and receive your peace in exchange. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Rooted and Restored. Remember, you can care deeply without carrying everything. You can love people without losing yourself. And you can trust God without knowing how everything is going to work out. Until next time, stay rooted in faith, make room for healing, and give yourself permission to be restored. We will see you again on next Wednesday at 12 noon. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you again.